Now, regarding your attendance, I believe that you understand you need to complete your attendance, yeah? If you have crossed, for example, on this sheet, please make sure you provide me a letter, because I'm going to update your online attendance report later. You don't have to wait for me to ask you to give me a letter for your absence, because you know when you have a cross, you need to provide a letter. The reason is not because I want to purposely to find someone with crosses and then I purposely want to drop you from taking the final exam. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to help you if you can provide me a letter so that I can update your attendance record. Because that is important, because maybe if, for example, the PPA find out that you have some absence, maybe they won't let you get your examination slip. You need to print out your examination slip, right? And that is the reasons that you need to have your attendance completed. Maybe also that you won't be able to see your grades later, your grades later, your result. Okay? If PPA found out that you don't have a complete attendance, this is what, okay? Right. Give this one, maybe from this this line. Tomorrow is your oral presentation. Can you do me a favor? If you want me to give you full marks, then not I'm helping you, but you help me, right? If you don't help me, I can't give you full marks. If you help me, you do better, you do your best, then you help me to give you full marks. That's what I want, right? I don't like to purposely find mistake from your oral presentation, from the mini project, then I deduct the marks. No, I don't like to do that, something like that. But you have to help me. Do your best, okay? With confidence, with commitments in the oral presentations, answer questions, then you're good. Means try to give you as best as possible for your oral presentation and also the project. And for the individual assignments, to be honest, I already tried to let you do the second time for submission, and I expect everyone to get 15 over 15. But still, I can't, still some mistake in your assignment, so I can't give you for that. And hopefully this time, your mini project and oral presentation, please do me a favor, do the best, and let me give you full marks for oral presentation and the mini project. Okay? First of all, let's do the tutorials problem. Well, I'm not sure how many percent of you have actually tried to solve the problems every week, every lectures. If you did, that's good. If you don't, please a very efficient every tutorial solutions that I provide you. Okay, until now. Right, this is week 11's tutorial. This is week 12, right? Okay. About your final exam, I am thinking if I can provide you a revision for certain topics that you should focus for your final exam. So it depends, whereas I can finish my topics by week 14. I mean, if I can finish my lectures topic by week 13, then perhaps the last week we can use it for your revision. Okay, just to discuss chapters, topics that you have to focus through your revision for the final exam. Perhaps depends. Okay, I try. So what we have here is, let's see the problem. If you were in charge of macroeconomics policy in small or vast economy, what qualitative effect would each of the following events have on your targets for external balance? Do you still remember? We have internal balance and external balance. Do you still remember the four zones? Zone 1, 2, 3, 4. Zone 1, for example, what are the problems in zone 1? Overemployment and current account surplus, right? Okay. Excessive current account surplus and overemployment. That's zone 1. Okay. And I hope you still remember zone 2, zone 3, and zone 4. Now, we have 4 problems here. With these 4 problems, we try to tell where does the external balance increase current account deficit or current account surplus. Okay, remember the focus of external balance is the current account, right? What is the focus for internal balance? Unemployment and inflation. Okay. The focus of internal balance is inflation, stability, and also low unemployment. Okay. Or full employment or low unemployment. The focus of external balance is current account. But given these 4 cases, we need to determine where does the external balance experience current account deficit or current account surplus. Yeah? Alright, let me just copy this one. Go to my whiteboard. There we go. I will also remove this one, get more space. Alright, now to answer these questions, you can answer them one by one, or you can provide a table for A, B, C, D with some columns. I will demonstrate how you can solve the problem here using a table format. Okay, now I have a table. For the first column here, perhaps you can put, because we have 4 scenarios here, we can also label this one as 4 different cases. If this is a case study, we can put here the 4 cases. Okay, case. Here's I put A, B, C, D, right? And then for the second column, I'm gonna put current investment. Now, why do I put current investment? Because this problem involves the prospect, the opportunities for the countries to invest or not to invest. Okay. And then the third column, I have put import, export. Okay. The reason I put import and export here in the third column, you can see my words there. The writing is not that clear. Let me write it here. Export, right? Now the reason I put import and export there in the third column is because we need to understand whereas in the current period, import will be greater than export or vice versa. And last column, we have to answer the question, which is whether the current account experience deficit or surplus. Before, just right here, this is current account. Okay? You can answer questions like this one, but make sure you label the problems clearly, like A, B, C, D in the first column, so that I can detect which one is your answers, which row is your answers. Okay? Alternatively, you can also answer them one by one. It doesn't matter, but I think the table formats will give precise presentations to the answers. Right. First of all, let's look at first problem, the first case. The first case says large deposits of uranium are discovered in the interiors of your countries. Uranium. What can we do with uranium? What can we do with uranium? Nuclear. Right. What can we do with nuclear? What can we do with nuclear? Yes, uranium is for nuclear. But what can we do with nuclear?
Electricity, power.
And currently, when we see the conflict between yes, hello, between Russia and Ukraine, people talk about nuclear war, right? And you might think that uranium is an energy that is important to build is nuclear weapons. But not just nuclear weapons, uranium can be used. What is the alternative use of uranium? Generate electricity. In other words, generate powers for the countries. Okay? That is a source of energies. It doesn't have to be something bad when we talk about uranium. Uranium is actually a very important source of resources that you can use to generate electricity. Okay, like what we say. Now, large deposits of uranium are discovered in the interiors of your countries. What should these countries do? When this country discovers the possibilities to produce energy using uranium, the first things the countries must do is to invest in the infrastructure. Because if you don't have the infrastructures, how do you extract the uranium to produce energies, right? You need to build infrastructure. You need to build your humans' expertise. I mean, uranium, I mean, to produce energy from uranium is a high-tech sectors. It's not easy, okay? You need to invest in human capital. You need to invest in infrastructure. And perhaps you need to invest in your network, meaning once your energy is ready to produce, certainly you will use these energies to produce goods and services in other sectors for export. Okay? That means you need to invest in a network also for future export. Right? That means with this discovery, the country's attention will be current investments toward the future, to get ready the infrastructure, the human capital, and other technologies to extract the uranium to produce energy. Okay? And what happens in the current period is that usually the monies and the resources of the countries will be shifted to produce uranium, meaning will be shifted for investment now, and then in the future, when investment mature, then energies can be produced, right? And consequently, what happens now is that I'm gonna take here current investment. Okay, I'm gonna take here. You can write yes or whatever you want. What happens is, because the focus is investments now for the future, usually import now will be greater than export now. Because the attentions of the country is not to produce goods and services for export now, but to invest now for the future. Okay? And consequently, import will usually be greater than export at the current period. Okay? That's what you should know. Therefore, I'm going to write here, import is greater than export. Okay? Import is greater than export. Then what happens to the current account when import is greater than export? Deficit, right? It will incur deficit. Like this. So if you answer the questions one by one, perhaps you need to write a short essay to describe this matter. If you answer in a table form, you just need to note labels and write the short answers for every cell. Okay, let's look at the second case. The world price of your main export good, including just one, copper, rises permanently. Coppers. Okay. This is the main export of the country. Okay. The price increases permanently. A permanent increase in the price of your main export. What will happen here? Let's talk about patience and impatient. If the country's governors it's a government that is patient. You know, patient? Patience means you can wait for the future, right? Impatience means you want to do something immediately now. For a patient government, a patient policy makers for a country, when they realize that the world price of the main export goods increases, okay, the main price increases permanently, what they will do is, rather than rush in to produce a lot of this good and export a lot of this good, why not we strengthen the foundations of this export. Meaning, we invest even now, we invest more now, strengthen the foundation. Meaning that you can improve the infrastructure of the country that produces these main goods. We can improve the understanding, like educations of this main export. Okay, how much do you understand about copper? Do you need educations? Some professors to teach the young generation about this one. Okay, you need more human capitals to harvest these coppers, right? Then with the best place that you can train your people, university, for example, that is investment, right? And what else do you need? Coppers, you need infrastructure, you need expertise from human capitals like you, okay? These kind of investment are important for these countries to export, to extract, to make use of coppers, and to export even more coppers in the future, right? Why not wait a little bit now? Because this resources coppers is already your main export. What do you worry about now to export a lot? Why not you invest more now, strengthens your foundation, your infrastructures, your human capital, so that in the future you can become even more competitive to your competitors in other countries, right? That is the explanation. Therefore, current investment is important. Okay? The key words I see here is permanently. The permanent rise in the price. That is the reason we need to have current investment. And because the countries still focus on current investment, that means the countries will not focus on the productions of goods or services that can export at the moment. It means export now. And therefore, what happens is import will usually be bigger than export. Okay? Import is bigger than export. Now the final column here, I guess you can answer. What is the answer here? It will be deficit also. Let's look at the third case. The world price of copper rises temporarily. Now this one is different. For B, there is a permanent rise in the price. C, this is just temporarily, right? If this is just temporarily and copper is the main export, what should this country do? Is current investment important then? Okay, you understand the rise in the price is temporarily, and you still want to put a lot of your money to invest now. When the investment mature later, maybe the price of copper drop, right? Because the rise in the price is just temporarily. When you know this, why not focus now, export a lot of coppers to realize even more profit before the price drop again? Okay, this is very straightforward. So current investment is not important. Cross it. It's not important. When you export a lot of these coppers, that means export can be more than import. And this situation is called a surplus. Okay? We call this a surplus. Export is higher than import. This is surplus. Right. And last case. Last case, I'm going to ask you to solve for me for the 3 cells here. 1, 2, and 3. Okay? There is a temporary rise in the world price of oil. Now, first of all, let me clarify to you. Oil It's not something that we know from this problem whether it is a main import or main export to this country. We don't know, right? So the answers to these questions can be a little bit in the middle. It depends on how you define the oil. Because this question B already told you, copper is the main export of this country. Certainly oil is not. It's not the main export. But what we can assume here is oil is the main import to this country, right? Because oil is virtually the only resources that many countries need, right? You can write in your answer, oil is the main import of this country. Okay? Assuming you can also write, if oil is the main import for this country, and then you can answer the question. Okay? But certainly not main export, because we know from here, main export is focus, it's not oil. Right? Before here, you can assume if oil is the main import of this country, then the temporary rise in the world price of oil will cause current investment, import larger than export, or export larger than import, and what happens to the current account? Yeah? For the first sound, what do you think?
I think it's no,
It's no. Why?
because the price is higher than the previous one.
The price is higher than the previous price. Now, first of all, okay, your answer is correct if you say no, but your justification is not that correct. Okay, I can say yes, I agree with you. This is no, right? Okay, but your justification is not correct. You should justify in the sense that if oil is the main import, there's no need to perform current investment, right? Because you are not going to produce oil. Can you get that point? Right? Because you are not going to produce oil, before current investment is not important. Across it. When current investment is not important to the country, that means this country, it doesn't have the need to perform investment now for the future. And what these countries do is they will bias toward current productions of current consumption. You still remember the two concept? Bias toward current consumption and bias toward future consumption, right? Okay. When the country, when I cross there, B, when I cross there, it means this country doesn't have a good investment opportunity in terms of oil, right? And so, what these countries will do is they will be biased toward current consumption, the productions of current consumption, right? You don't have to let this one to these questions here at the moment. Just think about current consumptions and future consumption just for question D. And this question, we say that the country has a good investment opportunity, right, in corpus for this question, right? But we try to answer this problem one by one. But we borrow the information from D, saying that copper is the main export, so that we can make an assumption that oil is the main import of this country, right? From here, we answer that there is no need for this country to perform investment because oil is not the main export, it's an import product, okay? And from here, because of this one, because there is no need of investment, then this country will shift all the money and resources for producing goods and services now. And these goods and services can be then exported to other countries, outside the countries, to realize profit now. That means export now will be greater than import. Right? So here I write export is greater than import. right? And Nostradamus, I believe you can tell me what the answer is this one, right? It is a surplus, right? This is a surplus. It depends on which way you want to answer this problem. You can draw a table like that one, or you can write your own essay if you prefer essay. Okay, but hopefully your essay is not one page or one case. Maybe just a short essay. Yeah. Right. I think that's it for the solution to this tutorial problem. It's quite short. But quite interesting, I think. It's 10:36 now. Shall we take a break for 10 minutes?
Wajib kita sebulan jadi sini. Sen depan.
By the way, this topic is quite interesting. I also quite like this topic because we are talking about the European Union. Optimum currency areas. Optimum currency areas. Now, I try to explain to avoid you from being confused with the title here. Optimum currency. It doesn't mean that if you bring your currency to these areas, then your currency will become optimum. No, that is not the meaning. Okay, and it also doesn't mean that currency in these areas are the strongest in the world. No. Okay. Optimum currency areas here refers to international economic integration involving multiple countries where these countries utilize just one currency, whereby the fixed exchange rate serves these countries effectively to realize economic prosperity. Okay? The keyword I mentioned today is that the optimum currency here refers to that there is one common currency, okay? Common currency utilized by multiple countries, whereby the exchange rate serves these countries very well to realize economic prosperity. That is the definitions of common currency areas, right? The purpose I show you this image is because this country has the strongest currency in the world. But it doesn't mean strongest currency doesn't mean optimum currency. Optimum currency has a different definition compared to strongest currency. Okay? Just to not confuse these two. Which country is this? Can you recognize? What's that?
US.
US? It looks like US because of the CD's, the slight crack there. But this is not US. A country in the Middle East. Yeah, if you have the lecture notes, you should know this is Kuwait, right? In this table, I just show you the top 5 currencies with the strongest values. Usually, we use the US dollar as the benchmark currency. If you want to know if a country's currency is stronger or weaker than other countries, maybe you need to pick one currency as a benchmark. For example, you can use pound sterling. But since I use pound sterling here, there's no point to use US dollar as use pound sterling as a benchmark. So, as a standard comparison, we compare the US dollars, right? Kuwaiti dinar. One Kuwaiti dinar is equal to US dollars $3.29. That is the direct or indirect quotations. This one, for example, let's consider this one. This is direct or indirect quotations. Direct. Why? I can also say this is indirect. It depends on whether you consider US as home countries or not. If you consider, it doesn't have to be for your home country. If you are now in the US, your home currency is US dollars, right? You are using US dollars. Then that relations will be direct. What about if you are in Kuwait now? You are living in Kuwait or working in Kuwait. Then that quotation will become indirect, right? Okay. Okay, not much to talk about this one. Just to show you some example of currency, the expensive one. And this banknotes, which country does this belong? I don't understand the words here. Maybe for those who understand, you know. What's that? Kuwait, right? It's written Kuwait. I don't know. But I know this currency it belongs to Kuwait. Okay? Alright. Monetary unification. Monetary unification. Now, first of all, let's understand the word unification. What does it mean by unification? When several countries united for one purpose. That is unification. But for what purpose here? The purpose is related to monetary. In macroeconomics, when we talk about monetary, it usually involves money. And another one is interest rate. Okay? Usually when we talk about monetary, we need to remember the focus is on money and interest rate. But whenever we talk about money and interest rate, one more thing that we cannot avoid is what will affect the purchasing power, the value of currency. Inflation rate, right? Okay? Inflation rate, interest rate, and money supply and demand. Those are the things under monetary considerations. So unification, monetary unifications here implies a group of countries, they become united to achieve goals set under monetary development, involving money, involving inflation, involving interest rate. Okay? And what we will see here is the key towards this objective, monetary unification, is to introduce one common currency. A common currency here means a currency that can be used jointly by multiple countries. Can you give one example? Euro. Have you heard about euro? Right? Euro. Euro is a common currency utilized by country inside, I don't want to tell you this one, EMU, later you will learn. Not all countries from European Union, from Europe, use euro. No. Only certain countries belongs to EMU. I will define you EMU later. Only countries belongs to EMUs are qualified to use euro. Okay? Now, if you go to the United Kingdom, Britain, can you use euro? 3 or 4 years ago?
Yes.
Yes. Why? And now you can't. Brexit, right? The United Kingdom has left European Union, EU. Now, if you go to UK, you can't use euro, use pound. Okay? Now it seems to me that it is unavoidable to look at history, like the Bretton Woods system. This is a very good lesson from history because we do need to learn from history. That's why we have history course, right? And history provides lesson for future development. Who say that Asian country cannot form unifications like Europe, like European Union? For example, we have this. What is this? What is PIMB? PIMB comprises 4 countries in South Asia. Which country? Which 4 countries? Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines. 4 countries. Okay. What is IAGA? EHA. East Asia. Growth area. Right? East Asia growth area. That happens in South Asia, including Malaysia. Which is something rather new compared to European Union. European Union is a long history. Okay? Therefore, it is important to learn from European Union. Hopefully the lessons can be applied to Asia also. Because the economic mechanism is generally applicable. Right? Just now I mentioned the word East Asian growth area, the word area, and in European Union we also have the word area, which is the Eurozone area. The Eurozone area where euro is used. Only countries belongs to the Eurozone area, euro can be used. I will show you the 20 countries later. If you have the chance to visit those countries, then you know you can use euro or you can use the domestic currency of that country. For example, Germany. Okay, what is the currency for Germany? The local currency for Germany. Let me write you here. Maybe right here. EN. The Deutsches Mark, right? The Deutsches Mark is the local currency for Germany. And you can also use euro in Germany because Germany is one of the countries in the Eurozone area, right? The Bretton Woods system, let's learn something from the history. The Bretton Woods system, what is the things that we discussed last week? The things that I asked you to remember. The fixed currency is tied to US dollar. That means countries will have fixed exchange rate. Okay, this is the problem we discussed last week. The fixed exchange rate. because the countries, they try to peg or tie the local currency with US dollars in order to fix the exchange rate. Fixed exchange rate means the exchange rate, it doesn't change over time. It remains the same from days to day. Okay? Why we need to fix the exchange rate? In order to reduce uncertainty. Because when exchange rate go up and down, it makes it harder to make investment decision. Right? So the Bretton Woods system was introduced. Okay, as this point mentioned, there was the fixed exchange rate regime with the US dollar for the member countries under the system. But the system here is also a problem. Do you remember we discussed the 4 zones, zone 1, 2, 3, 4? When we are located out of the point, out of the crossing point, we ended up in either zone 1, 2, or 3, or 4, right? But we don't want to be in zone 1, zone 2, 3, or 4. What happens is, if you still remember, the fiscal policy can go left or right. I mean, if it's going to the left side, it's expansion. If going to the right side, it's contraction. Okay, that is a fiscal policy. The government either expand expenditure or reduce interest rate, something like that. Sorry, reduce tax rate. Okay, to correct the problem means to go back to the crossing point. But if you want to go up and down, means that you still remember this axis on this curve. What does it measure? The exchange rate, right? That means it is the exchange rate policy. Under the fixed exchange rate regime, under this Bretton Woods system, can we move the exchange rate up and down? We can't, because it's already fixed there. So if a country falls outside the crossing points, that means the only policies that the government can pursue is fiscal policy, expansions or contraction. The government cannot pursue foreign exchange increase or decreases, right? The consequence is this becomes a policy dilemma. Where does fiscal want to go to the right side or go to the left side? You go to the right or left, you will just worsen over underemployment or maybe excessive current account deficit. Right? That is a policy dilemmas under this Bretton Woods system agreement. And what happens is, because of this, the policy dilemmas associated with fixed exchange rate, the countries begins to pursue floating exchange rate regime around the 1960s. The floating, this word floating, what does it mean? It is flexible. You allow the exchange rate to go up and down as usual, naturally. You don't control it. When you fix the exchange rate, you control the exchange rate. When you allow it to fluctuate up or down, that is floating. You don't control it. Yeah? Some countries begin to pursue this new policy, this new regime, floating exchange rate, rather than fixing the exchange rate with the US dollar. The countries opens up, they cancel, they terminate this fixed exchange rate regime, allows the exchange rate to fluctuate. Okay? But the problem is, when you allow exchange rate to flow, it needs to go up and down. The problem is, uncertainty arises because exchange rate can go up and down beyond your expectation. Right? You don't know what will happen to the exchange rate tomorrow, next month, next year. When this happens, because of this uncertainty, this will negatively affect the international trade and foreign direct investment opportunities. Okay? The fluctuations of floating exchange rate foster also mean costs. Okay? caused a group of European countries to introduce one currency that minimizes fluctuation. This one currency is also known as common currency. Okay? And later, what we refer to as common currency is, the name is euro. Right? This is just an introduction. In the coming slide, I will explain detail by detail the development process from the very beginning to the end where euro was introduced, okay, until today. Recognize this side, and this side is pound sterling, and this one yen. Right. Yen is used in which countries? Japan.
China.
And do you know that China also refers to the currency as yen? Okay. And some countries indeed they use the same name for the currencies. Like in the tutorial discussion last week, we used this SFR. What is this? The Swiss franc, right? What about France currency? If you go to Paris, you can use euro, or you can use domestic currency. What is the currency for France? FRF. Okay? Right. It's quite interesting if you can memorize all the currencies notations, it's simple across the world with almost 200 countries. Okay, let's continue here. Euro was introduced in early 1990s. As I said, this is a long history. Okay? The official currency of the European Union. But one thing I want to remind you is there are around 27 countries in European Union, EU, okay? But not all EU countries can use euro. Only country belongs to the Eurozone can use euro, right? Before, please do not make a mistake. If you have a chance to look for banks, for example, for central banks later, you should understand which country, which currencies, right? Two motives behind the monetary unification. The two main reasons why monetary unification was introduced in the first place. One, this is two. Number one, how in the world monetary system? Now this goes back to the Bretton Woods system. The Bretton Woods system, for example, we understand this is associated with fixed exchange rate, right? And every currency of every country is just tied to the US dollars. It doesn't matter which countries. Countries in Asia, in South America, in Africa. If you want to be under this system, this agreement, your currency must be tied to the US dollars. That sounds like the US is the boss under this system. Okay? Why not tie to Malaysian ringgit? Right? Why not try to use Russian rubles? Is it rubles or something? Okay? Why the United States? When the United States has these powers to make every currency to tie to the home currency, that makes the United States like a monetary powerhouse. It gives the United States the powers to control the monetary system in the world for its own benefit. Perception is the United States benefit from this system more than other countries. Okay? That is the reason the monetary unification was introduced in the first place. The second reason is EU as a unified market, unification. Okay? The European monetary unification as a unified market was intended to eliminate trade barriers. Yes, under a unification, monetary unification, one particular advantage of this monetary unification for the European Union is that they want to eliminate uncertainty. Uncertainty, do not underestimate this thing, because uncertainty can be a major barrier for foreign direct investment and international trade. When these EU countries, they moved together, they united for monetary purposes, they eliminate uncertainty to open up doors that will allow countries under EU to trade effectively, to perform foreign direct investment to one another. Okay? That makes EU an alternative to the banking system. Rather than tying the currencies to the US dollar, they move away, they form their own monetary unification that will benefit countries inside EU. Okay? That's why European Union is formed. Have you noticed that recently, Ukraine also wants to join EU? For the same purpose, to remove uncertainty, to benefit the countries in terms of trade, in terms of foreign direct investment, in terms of economic prosperity. Okay? And even so, they want to be under the Eurozone. As I mentioned just now, countries can be a European Union, but it doesn't have to be a country under Eurozone. Eurozone is under European Union. Countries can be a European Union country, but not Eurozone. If the country is not a country is under Eurozone, this country cannot use Euro. Right? If it cannot use Euro, that means the country cannot use the common currency like other countries for Eurozone. Right? And later, we'll talk about what is the benefit? The benefit, and also, to be honest, everything I believe has pros and cons, including this monetary unification. Later I will explain what is the benefit for joining this common area, this Eurozone, and what is the disadvantages, what is the problem, the losses associated with monetary unification. We talk about that. Yeah. Okay. As I said, before Euro was introduced, there were some history in the initial stage that formed the foundation until Euro was introduced in the end, until now, right? So this is the very first stage, the very initial stage to form Euro. Okay? We call this one the European Monetary System, EMS. EMS is formed by 8 European countries. Okay, the first one is France, then Germany, Belgium, Denmark, Italy, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Ireland. Another name for the Netherlands. What is another name for Netherlands? Dutch. Dutch, yeah, but usually refers to the peoples of Netherlands. Yes, Holland. Okay, Holland. Holland also means the Netherlands as well. So these are the 8 countries which took the first step toward monetary unification, right? EMS, not UMS, please don't wrongly write. EMS, yeah, is meant to restrict exchange rate fluctuation. See, just now I said, from here I said, the second purpose for monetary unification is to eliminate exchange rate uncertainty. So, for the 8 countries that introduce EMS, the objective, the goal, is to restrict exchange rate fluctuation. The purpose is to reduce or to minimize uncertainty. Okay? Do you know uncertainty can also lead to financial crisis, economic crisis? Like what happens in 1997 in Asia? What crisis we experienced in 1997?
Money crisis.
Financial crisis, right? Financial crisis. And the root of this financial crisis is uncertainty. And when uncertainty happens, people begin to develop panic. When people panic, they will think of way to secure their money. They will move money to these countries, to that countries, like this. Eventually, this becomes a problem because the banks become chaotic, meaning become ineffective and mess in the management of bank. And eventually, the banks has to close down. Okay, has to close down, and a lot of activities cannot be run when the banks close. Right? We will explain about financial crisis, I think, in the next lectures or maybe the last lectures. Okay, some other safety laws. What does this word mean, laws here? It means channels. Okay, usually we call channels. The 2 channels under EMS is lending, number 1, and number 2, capital control. Let's look at the first one. Lending. When the countries move together, they join together as a united area, they can help each other to maintain the value of currency. Okay? If you look at this example, when currency A depreciates against currency B, look, country A and B, they are countries under one unification, right? So these 2 countries are meant to help each other. When one country's currency depreciates, the other country has the responsibility to help the other countries to restore the value of the currency. Okay? The central banks of currency B, therefore, can lend currency B to the central bank of currency A for sales in the foreign exchange market for currency A. Now, we are talking about currency A, the value decreases in the international market. Now, what happens is, as I said, when currency A or country A devalues, country B has the responsibilities to help country A. How does country B help country A? Country B can lend currency B to country A. And what country A will do with currency B is, they will sell currency B in the international market to buy currency A. When you buy currency A, that means you demand currency A, your own currency, from the international market. Okay? When demand increases, the value of the money will increase also. Right? That is how lending is a channel to help countries to balance, to restore the value of currency under unification. Right? And the second channel here is capital control. By maintaining capital control, chances for speculative attack can be reduced or minimized, limiting sales of home currency for foreign currency. Now, what this means is capital control is usually people use differences in the currency value between countries to make profit. For example, currency, let's say currency A and B. If someone spot potential to make profit between these two currencies, that is a speculation. Meaning, like let's say Malaysian ringgit and maybe US dollars, for example, or maybe you can consider Thai baht. Thai baht is the currency for Thailand, right? If you see that Malaysian's ringgit, maybe you can say Thai baht is going to depreciate in the future. Okay, you will buy a lot of Thai baht right now using Malaysian's ringgit. Okay, and when the value of Thai baht changes in the future, you will sell or demand again to make profit. Okay, that is speculation attack. But usually this is not good because, for example, when you buy a lot of Thai baht, okay, you supply a lot of ringgit Malaysians to the international market, and that will devalue Malaysian's ringgit. That is not good. Okay, this is called speculation attack. So capital control under monetary unification (UMS), this possibility is minimized. It tries to avoid people from doing this speculation attack to make profit. Okay, avoid this. Right. The reunifications between Eastern and Western Germany produced economic shocks to EMS, fixed exchange rate performance, to the EMS, fixed exchange rate performance. Right. Let's talk about this. The reunification between Eastern and Western Germany. What does this refer? If you learn history, you should have an idea what this refers. Have you ever heard what is this Berlin Wall? Ever seen Berlin Wall? A very long wall that separates Eastern Berlin with other part of Germany. Okay, that is history. But at one point in time, these two parts of Germany, they united again. Okay? When these two parts of Germany united again, what happens is harmony begins to develop. Harmonies, economic harmonies, meaning this Germany becomes united again to develop its economy, right? The consequence is economic boom. Economic booms refers to when economic performance upsurge, right? Becomes developed quite well, suddenly. But economic boom also followed by inflation. This usually happens, okay? When economic perform very well, everything's grow, then inflation usually happens. Right? This happens in Germany. The German central bank therefore reacted by increasing interest rate. Right? If you still remember the Fisher equations in the last lecture, what is the Fisher equation? Let's consider this. This is Deutschmark, interest rate in Deutschmark, minus, let's say this is France currency, the France franc, okay, equals to inflation rate under Deutsches Mark, inflation rate under France francs. Okay, this is Fisher's equation. The Fisher effect, if you still remember. When inflation in Germany increases, what happens to the size in order to balance? The German government must raise interest rate, so that if this one increases 5%, this one must be increased 5%, so that it balance again. Okay? Do you know that interest rate is also the cost of borrowing? It's not just the money you put into the bank and you gain interest rate. No. For firms that run business, they need to borrow money, loan. And for firms that loan money from the banks, they need to pay the interest. That is the cost of borrowing. When German increase the interest rate, that also means the cost of borrowing increases. That will affect the profit of businesses, right? But it doesn't happen so bad in Germany because Germany experienced economic boom. So inflation doesn't affect the economy badly in Germany. But the problem here is the other member countries that unify with Germany. Okay? Because as a unified countries with Germany, I mean countries under one unification, when Germany experiences economic growth, will that affect your countries? Yes, it will. Meaning, what happens in Germany is likely to transmit it to the other countries, like France, like maybe Croatia, other countries. Okay. Look at this point. Some other countries without economic growth, not all countries under the unified area experience economic boom. After the Berlin Wall corrects, Germany experienced economic boom, but other countries remain steady, no economic growth at all. But the problem is, as a country that unify with Germany, when Germany experienced inflation and raised interest rate, other countries must also raise interest rate without economic boom. Can you imagine what happens? You raise interest rate, that means you raise the cost of borrowing. But other countries here, they did not have economic boom like Germany. The cost of borrowing is high, but no economic boom. The consequence is, it will badly affect the businesses in those other countries. Okay? The cost of production increases. Consequently, supply decreases. Unemployment increases. Right? They suffer economic recession. This is the outcome. This is the consequence. Right? However, although EMS is meant to achieve certainty, meaning to achieve economic prosperity for the group of countries by reducing uncertainty, but speculative attack still happens. This usually happens, meaning that if you have policies that to avoid speculation attack, people will find another way to speculate, attack again to make profit. That usually happens, right? What we see is when this speculative attack happens among EMS countries in the late 1992, the subsequent step is the introduction of EU initiative. Okay, this is the one. This is the second one. The improved versions of EMS. In addition to fixed exchange rate, okay, meaning that country belongs to EMS will have fixed exchange rate with each other. Okay, now in this time, they still did not have euro. Euro had not existed at this time. What they have is the currency among the countries are fixed with each other, right? The 1992 EU initiative was introduced to promote free flow of goods, services, and factors of production. In other words, the objective for this improved versions of EMS than the EU initiative, they aim to further liberalize international trade and factors of production. Led to low national barriers within Europe. Okay, this is to promote international trade and the mobility of factors of production. Movements of financial capital particularly become quite free within and beyond EU, right? The transition from EMS to the 1992 initiative is two of the three stages aimed by the presidents of the European Commission for one purpose. Okay? The transformation from EMS to 1992 initiative were the foundations to achieve the last goal. The last goal here is where euro exists. Okay? EMU. This is the third stage. The three-stage transitions aim to achieve one goal, namely the economic and monetary union. Now become a union. Under EMU, there's one single currency managed by the central bank representing the EU member state. In other words, there is a central bank for the European Union. Every country usually has a central bank. But when they form the European Union, they also have a central bank that is responsible for the union, for the European Union. Okay? The euro currency and the European Central Bank were intended to introduce under this treaty. This is an agreement no later than the 1st of January 1999. Okay? This is the target. Euro was targeted to introduce by the state. Let's see some advantages of a single currency like euro. We have been talking about monetary unification, and in the beginning, I introduced that these optimal currency areas, and I say common currency is the goal, right? Hence, from here, we know euro is the common currency shared by multiple countries. So we need to understand what are the advantages of using euro amongst the countries in Europe. Maybe we can introduce one